Hey guys, Scott here with a question. Why are Dead by Daylight players, on average, way more sensitive to the standard BMing, and BMing being bad manners, not bowel movements, done in online video games? Before I go any further, I want to make it clear this is not meant as a video to call people out or make fun of sensitive people or anything like that. I'm just genuinely trying to discuss what it is in this game that makes people so just uncontrollably upset when they are the target of BMing. Now, while historically people have gotten mad over things like teabagging in shooters, in my experience from, a long time playing games, the reactions are significantly worse in this game. Now, while this is mostly geared towards the killer feeling bullied by survivors, there are a few things like face camping or hitting on the hook that I want to talk about as well for the other side. Also, for clarification, the only things I would consider toxic for purposes of this argument are like teabagging, flashlight clicking, hitting people on the hook, and just like repeatedly vaulting things to make annoying sounds. Things like flashlight blinds, body blocking, and even like tunneling and camping are just things built into the game and are not toxic, whether you think they are or not. So, first off, I have a theory. Well, something like teabagging is commonplace in any game with a crouch button that features players versus player combat. The reactions people have are especially worse in Dead by Daylight. And I think the reason for this is due to the perceived imbalance of the situation greatly amplifying the attempt to annoy somebody. What I mean by that is if DBD were a perfectly balanced game, getting teabagged could really only elicit the reaction of, well, shit, that guy kinda outplayed me, I deserve that. This is why it's not as big of a deal as in shooters, because for the most part they have pretty equal playing fields, so getting shot in a fight is usually just because like the other guy aimed better than you. So there's not much to blame for the most part, other than the usual culprits like lag or getting shot in the back or something. Now in DBD, however, the playing field is not even. In fact, it's pretty much never even. Sometimes a killer catches a survivor because a teammate used all the pallets in the area. The survivor goes down, gets face camped, and then hit on the hook, even though the survivor literally had no defensive options whatsoever. At that point, the survivor would think, oh wow, you're real good, you downed me while I was completely helpless, and they'd probably get annoyed. Conversely, when a survivor gets to like a god window, or an extremely safe pallet loop and teabags on the other side of it, the killer's probably thinking, oh, wow, you're really good. You're at a safe setup and nothing I can do will change that. I think that feeling of helplessness greatly amplifies the effect of the person in a vastly advantageous situation trying to annoy you. It's like, they didn't even earn the right to shit talk. They were just handed an extremely easy situation and now they're taking advantage of it to annoy you. At its core, I think that's the main reason people get so annoyed by attempts to BM in this game. For me personally, only one thing ever actually annoys me, and that is the game itself. Things like false chainsaws, auto-aim, sound bugs, ridiculous map setup, and things like that are by far the thing that gets me the most upset. But I never actually blame the player for any of these things. Even with God windows, a lot of the time, it's just due to bad map design and there's nothing else safe for the survivor to use, so it's rarely even their fault. Even if they teabag on the other side of the window, their only option would basically be die a lot of the time, so I don't get upset at them. I might tunnel their ass or something like that, but I don't get mad at them. They're just using what they got. Now, there's also the ego side of toxicity that affects people a lot. For some reason, when a survivor teabags at the other end of a pallet, or the killer hits someone on a hook, players just suddenly categorize that as a personal attack on their skill level. People tend to have the mindset of, oh, this guy's teabagging me, he thinks he's so much better than me. And I just, why? Why the hell do people think this? If the victim is confident in their abilities, they should know that the teabagging player knows they're at a setup that makes them temporarily untouchable, which means the killer should know, the survivor doesn't actually think they're good. They're just at a strong setup and they're just kind of rubbing it in. A lot of this ego-related mindset comes from the fallacy that people think killers should be the power role in this game. And I've never really understood the power role argument either. Yeah, this is a game where a monstrous killer chases what amounts to basically 4 teenagers in terrifying locations, but it's just that, it's a game. It is a game with sides that both consist of people playing that game. Just because you pick the side that thematically should not be messed around with, doesn't mean you throw actual gameplay out the window to fulfill that fantasy. In my opinion, the power role in DBD is literally just whatever side is better at the game. Obviously, exceptions exist due to map RNG occasionally robbing one side of any real options, usually the killer. But for the most part, just because you pick killer, you're not really entitled to kill everyone because you think you're the power role. You should be entitled to kill everyone if you're just better than them at the game. That's how a good, balanced PvP game should work. A lot of killers complain about the strength of survivors, and while I agree that something like a 4-man sweaty survive with friends are definitely stronger than killers overall, you'll notice these killers are actually still winning the vast majority of their games anyway, and these are the types of players that fit into that power rule group where they think they should win every match, and it makes sense that when survivors teabag them at the other end of a pallet, they are directly insulting their position as the powerful monster killing teenagers, which obviously greatly upsets them. Now, I'd like to share my mindset when it comes to toxic stuff in DBD. Players pretty much never piss me off in this game because the vast majority of the time the things that they're doing to try to piss me off actually end up working out in my favor, and I hope maybe people that are kind of sensitive about this subject can start to realize this too. For example, if someone is teabagging after every pallet stun, that's time they're spending not running away. They're not gaining distance, which is great. If someone is following me during a chase clicking a flashlight, that's a person not doing gens. If the person I'm chasing is clicking their flashlight, that's some flashlight use and slowdown for them to rotate and face me for free. If a whole team body blocks, that's free positional awareness on the entire team and free damaging hits. Conversely, if I get face camped and hit on the hook, I'm basically winning the game for my team as the killer is out of the match for 2 full minutes. If I get tunneled, the killer is sacrificing all map pressure to take out one guy. If a guy is spamming vaults across the map, that's another guy not doing gens. Basically, every single toxic thing people can do ends up being bad in terms of winning the match, which is why I don't really care if they do it. It's actually usually pretty good for me. Additionally, if the entire goal of someone being toxic in DBD is to annoy you, or any game for that matter, why would you just give them what they want for free? I've never understood this part. The only thing you have to do to take away all a toxic player's power is not give them any reaction. Even if inside you are seething with rage, do you know how defeated toxic people get when you just say GG at the end game instead? Hell, this guy literally converted to a nicer player when I said GG after a match when he teabagged for like 2 minutes straight. These people aren't evil. They're just dicking around most of the time. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. Maybe I'm a fucking boomer and I'm just getting old to where things like this in video games don't annoy me anymore. Survivors don't really have many forms of offensive actions in this game, and a lot of the time mental attacks with teabagging are kind of all they have other than like DS and head-on, where the killer can, chainsaw them in half. The thing is, survivors don't really have any type of like rivalry action if they outplay a killer, which is why some of them resort to teabagging. Conversely, if a killer outplays a survivor, the killer just beats the shit out of the survivor and puts them on a hook. Sometimes a little BMing is all survivors have to communicate their satisfaction with outplaying a killer. If a survivor gives me a little outplay during a chase and follows it up with a teabag, I find it like endearing and like a challenge in a rivalry sort of way. Like, while someone might get angry at this, it makes me think, oh, you little shit, in like a friendly, competitive way. Like, oh, I'm gonna fucking get this guy. I don't know, maybe I'm weird, but I'm almost 30 now, and I think there are just many things in life to get far more upset over than like a survivor pressing control or a killer hitting someone on the hook. It's a fucking game, guys. That's it. Take it easy.